Buenos dias. This video has been a long time coming. Today is September 11, and it's a date I have picked as a jump date last couple of years. I have consciously been moving towards a space of freedom, as many who would be watching this also would be looking at. There's been much that has happened in the last 3.5 years that has caused a great deal of shake-up to many. It's made people fall off the fence onto one side or the other. It's made a lot of people aware of the programming and conditioning and control that is put upon us within many aspects of society through television, the media in all aspects, social media, the news, in whatever regard, on the television or print or online, and the government in general, and many corporations that are actually running this world and controlling all of what goes on and how we react and what we consume and what we say yes or no to, what we consent to. So many have pushed those boundaries, and many are going through layers of battles within the legal system or within their internal self to create that freedom, to completely disconnect from a society that is telling us how we should live, which many disagree with, but are scared to say no to. Typical narcissist, eh? Oh, but here, we love you, have some more money. And I have not been void of this. I have fallen back into the 3D or societal matrix space many times. I've chosen to dip my feet in it again and go, maybe I can create change. And I'm at a point now where I've had enough. And September 11 marks a trauma date for me, which I tried to rewrite last year. But instead, in my mind, I met a man who really hurt me in a way I didn't expect to be hurt. From someone so soon, I suppose, in a relationship, by their own trauma playing out upon me, their own unconscious patterning. And it's taken me a year to recognize that it actually had nothing to do with me. And while they kept deflecting on me as the victim and how I was reacting, there's a point where your own blow over of emotions because of what's unconsciously within takes its own level of a level of ownership needs to be had, and a own level of responsibility, rather than deflecting on others for always continuously responding to you in a certain way. Gets to a point where there's a common denominator, and we need to reflect why that unsavory part of us comes through and thinks, it's okay to say things like, if you're a bloke, I'd take you outside and flog you, as the resolution to an argument they didn't feel they were winning. So that sort of, it came up multiple times. And that sort of weak response to feeling a loss or a level of out of control is typical of people who have experienced trauma or who have unresolved patterns programming within them. So, you know, any level of heavy indoctrination, like our school system, the army, you know, even myself, I went to Girl Guides, you know, you know, I don't blame the leaders in any way, but there's a level of indoctrination within anything that teaches us to do be a good girl, do this, do that, obey. You know, it's, you know, come from the Queen. It's, yeah, I'm a Queen's guide. It's, yeah, indoctrination central. I can do lots of shit though, which is wonderful. But it's like, am I a machine that can do lots of shit, or am I an individual being that can do lots of shit? And then lots of people, can you even do lots of shit? Or do you just wake up and shit and go to work and come home and eat shit and then shit? So yeah, I digress. But I bring the focus back to September 11 as a jump day. And I have suggested the idea of jump dates many times for people who are in the awakening, the freedom, the spiritual, the, I'm trying to think of the other terms, whatever movements are going at the moment. Those who are standing against the oppression that's being cast upon society at large continuously, and the conforming that is happening to the very fast-paced world that is becoming so tech reliant. It wouldn't know what to do if the tech was removed. So I've been doing that. I have been removing tech as much from my life and creating a space where I can be sustainable in a world without electricity being provided externally from me, without a world where water is being provided externally from me, where I don't need like internet or yeah, all those sorts of things, supermarkets, all that, and how to be self-sufficient, really. But there's a lot of people that have been living off-grid that are still very reliant on a lot of the outside world. And look, I'm living in a suburban house, so I have no judgment. I don't live in that space. But they've created just a slightly different version of the societal attachment. And while they can do a lot more and look after themselves a lot more, it's how we deal mentally without having, say, access to phones or the internet to connect. And it's something that I've been very conscious of for 3 years. And I have been also, as I said, I've built up a space of well, I didn't say it, but I've been working towards and have built up a space of having enough items that I can fit in my car and be completely self-sufficient with, whether it's through like more a survival like bush level, or whether it's setting up camp somewhere with enough to sustain me and my children. So I have been building that up and have videos attached that I did up at a friend's place who lives off grid, has been teaching me how to expand my skills and supplies. And yeah, so I have videos up of my more primitive survival sort of stuff, I guess, that would fit into a car. And it's a basic sort of model, and it gives people an idea of what you might need if there is an emergency on our doorstep. But my idea is to not wait for the emergency to get prepared, but get prepared before the emergency. Now, a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people don't do fire drills at home. Or if they do, it's only if it's been sort of encouraged by the kindy or the school or whatever it be. But half the time it's not a reenactment of what might actually happen and how people are in that moment. So you know, my children and I also get quite animated, and it's like, you know, it's run up to a door and it's like, you know, is it hard, make sure you use the back of your hand. And so then like one of them will go to grab a door with their hands like, you bent your hand, we need water, you know. And it's just like, we need ice. And it's a don't put ice on a burn, but it's a level of like understanding. Don't put ice on a burn. Like, how do you treat a burn wound? What first aid kits and skills do you have on the ready to support through these sorts of emergencies that could be on our doorstep, which we saw, you know, just before the good old virus came out. It would have been the defining factor of 2020, the Australian bushfires. So, you know, it affected a lot of my family members. It was on my uncle's doorstep the day before his wedding. Like it was like hairy. And all my family members. I'm from a large family. We're down there to celebrate. I was heavily pregnant at the time, so I wasn't participating. But yeah, it was a lot to witness, and yeah, and there's another family member too, like, you know, they a bit further south, sort of all around the Port Macquarie sort of region. So yeah, like, and both of like really, so quite worried about a lot of family in amongst that space. So, and it wasn't that it was a direct reaction to that, but it's just something I'm always conscious of, that we just never know when it could happen. Same as, you know, Lismore, Northern New South Wales floods, and sorry for those who live in other areas that weren't as reported as Lismore, but, you know, just the whole region, yeah, being affected. You know, even you know, Southeast Queensland was greatly affected too. My space here became an island for a few days. I wasn't able to perform a wedding, so, you know, there was a lot of factors that, you know, not that that's the end, life or death performing a wedding, but, you know, like it affected, you know, us all. And it makes you think, what do you have on hand if that happens? You know, have you got enough supplies for a few days? You know, at least a few months maybe. What if towns get cut? What if truck suppliers aren't able to get through? What if factories, like, what if this is bigger than we've ever seen? What if factories and supply chains are really affected? What if, you know, growers, what if we go into such a drought period that growers aren't able to grow the same way, in fires that double affect crop supplies, which increase the cost of you know, produce. So, you know, we've got a lot to consider, and how long these sorts of effects can flow on. So, and do you need to go? Do you need, like, what if you're in an emergency centre and the supplies aren't enough for everybody? Like, what if there's no power for prolonged periods of time? How are we able to source power from natural resources and water from that? You know, like, how are we able to purify it? So, the jump date, I say, for anything that you've been considering or wondering doing,